Hello, hello, hello.
Kia ora.
Hey, Dave.
How are you?
I'm
Hey.
good. I'm good. I am exhausted still from my trip, but I'm also super happy because it's been an awesome trip.
That's great. That's great. And then my
And I did
understanding
actually,
is
when I realized, I would be recording the Wednesday before my trip and also the Wednesday after my trip, I was like, will I make it? But yes, I did make it.
brilliant.
I like last time told you that I had a bout of illness and I was unsure if I could make the trip. And I
Hmm.
got healthy before the trip. And I'm back and I'm exhausted, but I'm not, sometimes when you do a trip and then you come back and you're just like unable to do anything, like I'm able to do some
Hmm.
things. So I'm
That's
like,
cool.
just my feet hurt.
So your trip was to the F1 in Barcelona, right?
That is correct. I went to the Formula One Gran Premio de Barcelona in
Yep.
Barcelona, Catalonia, actually in a small town called Montmeló, that is a suburb of Barcelona.
Hmm.
And my hotel was in the neighboring village of Molle de Valles, or Valles, I guess. And that's about like 5 or 6 kilometers away from the track. And there are no real footpaths between those two villages. There's just a
What?
highway
Right.
and lots of industry. So I've experienced a lot of weird, um, like countryside, I guess. It was super fun, but next time I'm going to do like if I ever go back to this track or just like to any Formula One Grand Prix, I'm going to take like put more effort into finding out the transport story, basically.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's been amazing. Hang on, I bumped my
That's
microphone.
awesome.
It's been amazing. It's been so cool because you just you just go there and then like you walk 6 kilometers, of course, and you think, oh wait, am I still even like going in the right direction? Like I'm on a footpath that is just like going through a field. Okay, I'm
Yep.
gonna turn around in the next 200 meters, and then you see in the distance, you see the grandstands, and you're like, these are the actual grandstands of Barcelona, Catalonia, the racetrack. And I'm like, oh my god! And you come near, and they scan your ticket and whatever, and then it's like you're actually there, and this is the thing you've seen on TV and in the video games and everything,
Hmm.
and it's actually a real thing where actual like cars drive over the track, and that's like so cool.
That's awesome.
So I've been there 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and especially Friday, Saturday, there wasn't so much going on. And that was like really cool because I could just go everywhere. Like there wasn't like the huge crowds of people yet. And so
Hmm.
I could basically just like look at every corner that I could reach, like from the sides, and like wonder like just look at everything, see the sight lines, where do I want to sit, where do I want to watch, um and just like explore the whole whatever's around the track, like the food trucks and
That's
everything. Like
great.
also I was able to like pay €12 for a sandwich, that kind of thing. um
Captive audience price.
my hotel had free breakfast, so for Saturday and Sunday I had really nice sandwiches in my bag. The owners really didn't
Brilliant.
mind at all if I would like make a few more sandwiches while I was making myself breakfast.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah, and it was just really, really cool. And then like seeing a Formula One race and also Formula Two, Formula Three, and Formula One Academy, which are the junior classes basically.
Hmm.
That was just really cool. Like I'm not as versed in these classes as I am in Formula One, but you know the names, and it's like, oh wow, this is really a thing that is happening right in front of me, and it's just like
Yeah.
really cool feeling. And then also just like, how do I say this? Like the whole vibes, like the loudness of the engines, and also the just like the people that you experience, but also the how do I say this? What is different between watching this on TV and actually being there? Which,
Yes.
like, one thing that surprised me, And I'm realizing I haven't even said the intro yet, and we're not talking about any like
That's
indie
fine.
developer
Keep
stuff.
going.
But
Keep going. I'm keen to hear.
like, so one thing that really surprised me was how disconnected I felt from what was going on. And there's soccer in Europe going on right now. So, and I've been thinking about like whenever I've been to a soccer game, it was the same. But it's just so what I mean by disconnected is like when you see Formula One on TV, you're very close to all the main characters. Like the camera is always pointed at the face of someone who is just one of those like main character people, like the 20 drivers and the team principals and like a few other like kind of people that you just know. And it's always like, they're like, like this guy talked to that person and that person talked to this person and intrigues and whatever. You don't see these people. Like if you are at the track, you are completely separated from those people because there's the paddock, which is inside the racetrack basically. And there is the grandstands and the general admission area, which is where the fans are. And there's just absolutely no overlap. And there needs to be, because like 320,000 people there. So you can't mingle the two. Yeah.
That's a crazy amount of people all in one spot. That's awesome.
It is. Yes, this is just like a huge music festival.
Yeah.
Although then the label beneath the number said 3-day attendance. So they might be counting people like me who visited on all 3 days. They might be counting them thrice. But definitely on Sunday, there was hundreds of thousands of people there.
1 second. I'm trying to work something out. Booted my calculator up. If it was, so 320,000 people, and there's approximately 5 million people in New Zealand, so that would be like 6.4 of New Zealand's population in one spot. 6.4%.
All right, so 2023 last year on race day, so Sunday, they had an attendance of 125,000. And this year, I can't find a number like right now for this year for race day, but they said they had like 10 to 20% more this year than last year. So it might be that they're counting people double and like it's more like 100-something thousand, but still like hundreds of thousands of people is a lot.
Even so, we're still talking 2-3% of New Zealand's population or whatever. Right?
It's really wow.
Yeah.
But then again, how many people live in New Zealand?
5 million, roughly.
That's basically Munich.
I mean, for me, that's like, thus the basis of its appeal because, I get that. I like space. But, well, I'm really, really pleased to hear how lovely a time you've had. But we are definitely like nearly, 8 minutes into the show or so. I need that intro, Daniel.
You need that intro. Let me switch back from the Formula One notes to the intro notes. Hey, welcome to Waiting for Qualifying, a show about the majestic racetrack fan life. Join your scintillating hosts, Dave and Daniel. And let's hear about a tiny slice about their thrilling lives. Join us while waiting for review.
See, that's my F1 race car sounds there, Daniel. Yep. One more thing on the subject, Daniel, because I noticed just earlier on you posted to Mastodon a picture of your XDR home racing setup. Can you?
I did,
this on the show before, but can you just give a quick?
Let me give you like 2 more sentences about my attendance, and then we can totally go into the more technical stuff. But
sure,
I loved it because it was all about the vibes. Like if you follow this on TV or whatever, you see all the details, but you're not there. Whereas when you're there, you really only see one corner where you're standing or sitting, right? So, but it feels so cool because it's like the vibes are there, and like you have all these fans with you. And the other thing that I really realized is because in my mind I kept comparing this to a music festival, but people at a music festival are super extroverted. you are like as like generally like they're a bit drunk and
Yeah,
they're happy
yeah.
and they're partying, whatever. And the people at Formula One races are way more introverted. they're like they're like 10% as high energy. They're super friendly still, but this it's just a bit of like, yeah, we all like this sport. It's very data driven. It's nice. Oh yeah, I see you have the
Were you the
cap of my
10%,
competitor.
Daniel? Were you driving it for everybody in your corner?
Woo! 44, that's me.
Yeah. Brilliant.
No. I fit right in. It was really nice.
Oh, that sounds
All right.
really, really cool, dude.
You put in our show notes a thing that's called Daniel is an XDR racer. So 2 weeks ago, I told you about I have my sim rig, but I don't have a screen for it. I don't want to drag it into the living room in front of the TV all the time. So I bought a cable that's apparently or supposed to be able to connect a PlayStation 5 to a Pro Display XDR because it's an active adapter cable. I tried it out today finally, and it does indeed work.
Yay!
The resolution is not amazing. It's basically 1400p, which is way less than the PlayStation can output and way less than the Pro Display XDR can display. So at some point I might try another cable, but the fact that this one works at all is already a miracle, and it's really cool.
Yes. What's the latency like?
Nothing. Like I say nothing, but I can't really discern any latency. Like I just played around with it for 10 minutes maybe. I basically loaded up Barcelona Catalunya because I wanted to compare it now that I've seen it in real life. And just like took a few laps, and those were fine. Like didn't seem like any real discernible latency. So that's really cool. Also, this version of the cable with this resolution didn't need any separate power source. Like the bigger cables, apparently they need need USB just for power, and then also the HDMI. But yeah, no, this it worked. It worked absolutely fine. No HDR and no 120 hertz mode. But I don't think the XDR supports 120 hertz.
I don't think it does, if I remember right.
And the HDMI, whatever. But yeah, it totally works. The desk is slightly higher than it should be for ideal experience, but just the fact that I can just in 3 minutes be able to jump into the seat and have a race with my actual racing wheel is really cool. So yeah, I like it.
Just
it's not perfect, but it's just super fun.
I'm looking at your post and your pictures here, and listeners or viewers over on the YouTube as well. You're going to have to check the show notes for this, but it's an awesome looking setup, Daniel. You've got in there a mat underneath your chair and everything as well, so it just looks like everything is all about that racing moment for you just there.
The mat is basically an old blanket that I have.
Yeah.
And that is just so that I can actually move the thing and it doesn't scratch the floors or anything. And then I in the picture I just have the PlayStation just sat there because because I need to find a way to put it somewhere that it can do some cable management or whatever. But it totally works. I also included a picture of me of just what would be my field of view when I sit in there. And so the image is a bit smaller than I would like if in a perfect world, and also a bit further up than I would like, but it's totally fine. And just looking at this picture, it shows the pit lane in Barcelona Catalunya.
I looked and I'm like, I feel like I recognized that from Daniel's photographs from when he was there.
And it looks so much cleaner in games. I was always oh, these games, they look so realistic and everything. And now I'm thinking, I mean, realistic maybe, but in reality, these racetracks are just way more dirtier and grungy in a cool way.
Yeah. From the cars and everything that's going around them, right?
Yeah, and just because they are just these little streets, right? They're just like a tarmac, and then they have these walls. They are made from concrete or whatever, and then there's grass around. It's just a little bit dirty, and it's totally cool.
That's wicked, Daniel. I'm kind of I don't really game, but I can see what you get out of the racing setup there. That does look really cool. So
it's just my type of neuro spiciness. Just like it really makes me feel good.
Oh, it's great stuff.
But yeah, shall we maybe talk about about indie developer topics?
I reckon. Yeah, what's next in our list? Because we make lists of things to talk about.
Dave is fighting App Store review for an EDU version of his app. So last time we talked about you made a special education version of GoVJ because you could then allow like universities and schools to bulk purchase those with educational discount, right?
That's right.
I thought you told me that they all went fine. So this entry kind of surprises me.
It was over the weekend while you were at the F1 that this kind of all came to a head. So when we last spoke, I think I was debating the approach. Oh, excuse me, I've just made a thumbs up because I'm on my iPhone for a camera here. But anyway, the thing that happened was that I spent a bit of time last weekend making a new bundle, making a new app entry in App Store Connect. I spent all of 5 minutes on a new icon for the app. It's like I'm basically making a clone of my app that is using a how can I put it? Using a Swift flag, a debugging flag to if def the paywall manager that I've got out of the equation so that the app thinks it's unlocked all the time. So the users never see that paywall in the educational version because it will be a paid upfront app when it's listed in the App Store. So I did that. Like I say, all of like maybe an hour's worth of work, really just tidying stuff up and then a little longer testing things and making sure that I'd actually got the state that I was after. Bundled it all up, copied and pasted everything in App Store Connect, edited back a little bit of the text, but not quite enough. There was still one line in there that referred to in-app purchases and subscriptions. So that was strike one on App Store review. They were like,
for an app that is, to remind our listeners, invisible to the App Store.
No, it's not invisible. That's the other thing. Is that it's actually listed in the App Store.
I see.
As a separate app. So if you search for GoVJ, you will find both. But there's a reason for this. The unlisted version of distributing an app to schools via Apple's School Manager, and actually, in fact, you can do this for your own business as well. You can do an organizational release that is distributed in this way. The way it works is it's in the store. It's invisible unless you've got the link. Or it can be added through Apple's management tools and via MDM to manage devices. And when you do that, you've got to list the organization ID. And there was also some older documentation I could find about signing keys and making sure you're signing stuff appropriately for MDM. I didn't want to go that route. There was obvious complexity to it that I was like, yeah, that's not a 5-minute job. I'm not into that. So bearing in mind, I'm trying to time box this and make sure it's not like an absolute rabbit hole.
Very smart.
So the other option was to just make a paid upfront version of the app, call it GoVJ EDU, and then the school that wanted to use my app that contacted me could still buy that and load it through Apple School Manager. Because if you buy paid upfront apps there, you can add them to your devices. That it recognizes it as licenses effectively.
Right.
So I did that, submitted, rejected. And like I say, one of those rejections was for my copy. That's fine. That's a fair cop. Quick edit. They also demanded to see a video of the app in use because it's using the video output of the device. And they can't... My impression of Apple review here is that they're reviewing in a simulator kind of setup on an iMac or something, right? They've got probably got a browser on one side and a simulator on the other on their screen or something, and it's
that's what I reckon as well.
Yeah. So they can't test it, right? It's probably not got any video output set up for it. And then even then there's permutations of how that works, that they're, for their own sanity's sake, I guess it's easier for me to send them a video going, this is what the app does, and showing it. So they asked for that. Not entirely unexpected. GoVJ had that way back in 2015.
Okay, but it's not for every version, right?
No. Once that was reviewed and approved, they've never asked for that video again.
Right.
But so I did that, pulled a video together. The one that was fun was they also rejected it on grounds of it being spam, because there's already an app in the store that does this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's my app though, isn't it? You can see that, surely. Hang on. And so I wrote back, and when I linked the video, I explained further and actually said what I was trying to do. And I cited a couple of other apps that do the same, as sort of like, how can I put it? As sort of setting a precedent, if you like. This is an example of this. And on my video, I showed the app in use, but then also showed it side by side with original GoVJ on the iPad, and said, this is the intention. It's a separate app. It's the same, except that it doesn't have any in-app purchases. It's for schools in this fashion. As you can see, they're both my apps. And sent that off. And then somewhere, maybe Tuesday this week, after the weekend, it was approved. So that did the trick. And bear in mind, as frustrated as I was, when you get this sort of rejection from Apple, the only thing to do is to just try and make sure you're meeting what they've told you is wrong, really, or to show good faith and say, this doesn't apply to me because of X, Y, or Z, and really lay it out, but as kindly as you can, right? Because there's a human on the other side who doesn't get your app, doesn't care about your app, and they're just trying to get a job done on their side. Right. So anyway, happy for that. Hats off to App Store Review. They probably sat through this video and were like, what is this guy doing with this video mixing? And then what I did is I screenshotted screenshotted the page of it in App Store Connect, showing the icon and showing that it was ready for distribution, and sent that back to the person who contacted me from the school and said, it's ready now. This is what it looks like. Just search for this icon in the App Store. With when you search for GoVJ, just there it is. So that was that. That was off. And I got a lovely message back the next day. The person who'd been in touch with me was their IT person, I believe. And he forwarded me on a message from a teacher at the school. They bought 3 licenses for three iPads that they've got set up for this multimedia studies class, I believe it is. As I understand it, what the students there were doing is loading in their own videos and then using GoVJ as a triggering point to then play them on their projector or the screen they've got set up in the classroom, full screen out. So they were able to play their work on these iPads.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So honestly, I loved the whole process. Even getting rejected was like, well, I'm doing this so that a school can
also you're just
app.
doing this for the podcast, because you're actually literally waiting for a review.
I was yes, and every time I see that when submitting an app, I'm like, oh yes, that's the name of the show. Thank you, Apple. It's nice to get recognized. So yeah, that was getting an EDU version of the app out. And it means I've now got a support burden where I'll have to release both apps. It
Yeah, I
also
was just gonna
means
say,
that,
like, are you now just releasing both versions every time you release an update?
yeah, yeah. And that's okay. That becomes a thing for me to figure out at some point in terms of automating the build process. For the moment, I'll just manually do this.
Yeah. In the name of all Germans, I want to thank you.
Oh, awesome. Of all Germans.
Yeah, I speak for all Germans. That's just what I do these days.
It was a German school that contacted me, so
Right.
yes, thank you. I appreciate your thanking on their behalf. But no, I checked the school out. Actually, they're pretty hip, pretty modern. I'll have to send you a link. It's like, oh, I'd love to have gone to a school like that, 30 years
All
ago, or
right,
whenever.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got an EDU version of the app out. It means it can be purchased with volume purchases, even if people have a classroom of more than 20 iPads they want to provision. I'll be very happy to offer those folks a good discounts.
And so,
Yeah.
but it is actually an app that normal people can normally find on the App Store, because last time you
Yes.
thought
Yes.
you were expecting it to be like invisible to normies,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I got confused in terms of how that part of the process could work. But yes, it's visible to everybody. That's another reason I was quite happy to have it loud and brash as the EDU version, because it sort of earmarks why it's there and what it's doing. But if somebody else goes, oh, I'm more into a paid upfront app, I'm going to buy that, that's fine. It's the same price as my
Right.
lifetime
Right.
upgrade on the subscription app. So
You know
there's
what?
something else.
I just looked for GoVJ in the Mac App Store,
Yeah.
and it says, "Oh yeah, no Mac app results," but it only finds the EDU version. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Does does it show it as available
Maybe
to install on your Mac? Did I
it does.
forget?
Yeah, I can. Designed for iPad, not verified for macOS. It says, but I
Okay.
can totally install it on my Mac. I don't know if you
Yeah,
want that.
I probably don't. To be fair,
I could try it
on that,
out for $29.99.
feel free. Um, but maybe this is maybe this is okay. Like I've been planning to release it that way anyway. So if somebody on the EDU side does that, that's fine. The problem that I can see coming with the Mac version is that I think it's got an issue in how it detects the external screen when it's in that context.
I see.
So yeah, it may not work exactly as intended. Okay. Adding that to my list. That's something I've got to either close the door on or go and
I'm
fix.
sorry for giving you more tasks. Like before we
No, it's
started
fine.
recording, I was like, oh, I have so many tasks. I hate how many tasks
Yes.
there are. And every time you talk to someone, you just get more tasks. And now I'm the bearer of bad tasks. I'm sorry.
To be fair, Daniel, it used to be when we first started recording together. To be fair, it used to be that I would give you tasks on this show, right? We would talk about things. I would give you something to come back on. We've not done that for a while, so I'd say turnabout's fair play.
Paybacks a B word.
Brilliant. I'm sure that's what
A
you
bench, actually.
meant. A beach.
A beach.
Yes. Payback's a
That too.
beach. Well, curse you. I will add this to my list, and maybe we'll update on this next week. Did I really get the Mac app fixed?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
This here also says Dave is prepping another thing, namely the Switcher app.
Switcheroo, yes. So,
the Switcheroo app. How's that going? Like this feels like a class report. Like I was like, okay, and did you do this? And did you do that?
Yeah. So the switcher is sort of was slightly not looked at because of the EDU stuff. However, I know exactly what I'm going to do to it this weekend. So I've got a list of changes to make, and those changes will be to make it TestFlight ready. So if I get it to TestFlight, there'll be a TestFlight link in the show notes for people if they want to go and give it a look. because this shall come out as an episode next week after I've done that. And if there is no link to TestFlight there, then listeners, you know exactly what's happened and that I've not managed to get it where I want it to be. So
Sounds good.
that's probably all I should say on that, really. I am prepping it for TestFlight. I'll link it here. And I'm very, very grateful for any feedback from anybody at that point.
Oh, very good. But to be fair, I only kind of sped through that because the next item, like I wanna hear that, because the next item says you're looking at Swift on the server, and I want to hear all about it.
Oh, okay. Yes. So this is kind of fun. And I'm very much trying to manage not just adding stuff to my plate for the sake of it. However, I'm also trying to make sure that I'm building things out sensibly as a business. That, I'm by no means making a wage out of these apps and what I'm doing, but I want to focus on making it make some money, because that is largely what I want it to be doing. Like, I enjoy making the apps, but that's the other side of all of this. I've had a customer request came to me via messages on Instagram. It was very, very simple. How do I buy more content in the app? And the answer to that is you don't. You import your own content. You've got the demo content it ships with, and that's that. And I'm like, well, I've been meaning to add some means of buying extra video content to mix with in the app. I've been meaning to do that for years, and it's in the too hard pile, right? So a few years ago when I last looked at this, my option was maybe to ship it as downloadable content in the app, which is something Apple used to support. I've since discovered a couple of years or so ago, they went, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you can do, I can't remember what it's called now. There's like a way of submitting assets with your app that can be downloaded separately, but there's file size limits on that, which is fine. But the difference there being is it used to be you could upload content separately from your app with the right identifiers and everything else. And I guess if you needed to do an interim change to that, you could upload it separately to submit in the app for review. The new process, everything goes up with the app bundle. So if you add new content, you've got to make a new release of the app. And it just seemed a bit messy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get that.
And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I'll be increasing the size of my app bundle that I upload, even though Apple slices it and it's all nice for users on the other end. And I lose a bit of control in when I update the videos, if I want to update the videos at all in any way, because it's got to go with an app release. And then the other issue I can see coming here is a sense of for a user, your purchases will be literally tied into the app bundle itself. And I'm looking ahead and sort of going, I'm not sure that's exactly how I want to roll with this. So the plan now is, it sounds really simple. You'll go to a screen in the app. There'll be content for sale. You can make an in-app purchase. And if that purchase is valid, you will be able to download that content. And I will have that content hosted on my own backend. Yep.
How? Wait, what? Maybe I misunderstood. But didn't you just said 2 sentences ago? You don't want to tie the content to the app, but with the in-app purchase, you kind of do, right?
It will tie it to the app, but it will give me more options down the line if I go this route. So there's a world here where maybe I have some sort of user login in the future, and there's a world where maybe that user signs in GoVJ, and we can then link the purchases back to an account.
Yeah, but then Apple will be mad, or Apple might just take offense at some point. And also, you'll have more work. So I think it's a good idea to put that into the future. But just the very small backend that just says, here's a list of content, and here's like download links, like just like on Amazon S3 or Azure like blob storage or whatever. And then the app kind of does the verification. So if someone is very smart and sniffs all your content, they could probably download the videos by themselves or something. Or you could probably add a little bit of authentication, but not per user authentication or something like that. But if you do that, then it's probably not that hard, you know?
Yes. I'm going to go a step further to this stack. So let me put this clearly. Yes, I could go the other route and submit the content with the app and do something with that way of shipping the assets. And then Apple would host it and everything else. Part of me just doesn't want to, Daniel, if I'm honest. Like, I looked through the way they just killed the old way of doing it, and there were lots of posts of people being quite upset because they then had to scramble to figure other things out. And I'm like, yeah, do you know what? Strategically, I actually want the back end. I want this control myself over this end of it. And I'm curious. This leads me to Swift on the server, though, because working out my options, what I want is I want a back-end stack where the app says, hey, I've got a receipt and it relates back to this purchase. So you'll have like an ID against it, like the bundle ID of the in-app purchase. And the backend then goes, okay, great. Thank you for that. I'm going to send that receipt to Apple and verify that it's valid. And I've got the ID of the thing, so I know the thing that's being purchased. And if this is valid, then I'm going to vend you probably an array of download links for the content. And that will be download links that are on, like you say, blob storage, S3-like storage. I've got Linode, so I'll be using their storage. Sure. Same thing, although works similarly.
Right.
And in that bit of the process, the bit I want to add as a final sort of layer of security, if you like, is my backend service is going to talk to the API for the object storage and create a link to the content download with that API, and it will set an expiry date that say, it's got to download it within the next half hour.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And then that leaves me with a level of security,
Yeah. Like, I think I don't know. I don't want to advise against less security. I think I would just try to get this working at all before adding these layers of security, because what you now describe, the layers of security that you now describe can be actually layered on after the main functionality already works.
100%.
But you probably know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds really cool. Are you going to like two questions? Like, are you going to want to create some kind of backend where you can like upload and manage these things?
Yeah,
that's question one. Question two is because and question two is, I think, where will you get the content? Like, will you be producing that? Will you be buying and reselling that? Like,
I'll be producing it. And so in the first instance, and then down the line, there's a world in which maybe I host other artists' content and sell that, and then they take a.
But I can totally see that this makes your app like immediately 20 times more valuable. Like, especially if you have a few videos in there that like look really, really cool. Like, I haven't seen that kind of animation before, and I can just like use it because it's a video that is in GoVJ, Like, that is cool.
I'm really looking forward to the idea. Now I've kind of gone, yes, okay, this is something I should do, and this is going to provide value to a person. This seems to be my trigger at the moment, right? If a customer of my app contacts me and says, hey, there's this bit of friction or this issue, and I can see the value to more people than just that person and the value back to myself and the business of doing it, then I'm prioritizing those things kind of
Yeah, that makes
almost
sense.
immediately if I can. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm sort of aiming for putting together a bit of a proof of concept. That may be this weekend if the switcher is a quick job. Otherwise, it'll be the next weekend that I'll get into it.
Fantastic. Let me know. Let me know if you want to, like, I don't know, screen share a pair program in the start. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think I can do everything for you, but like I might be able to help you over the starting stumbling blocks.
it's appreciated, very much appreciated. Because the reason I'm picking Swift on the server for this, picking Vapor, is there's a few reasons. Number one is that it's a language I'm using all the time, so therefore I don't have that context and brain switch there in the same way. There's still a context switch because it's a different type of programming. But yeah, that minimizes a bit of friction for me. And then the other thing is that knowing people like yourself who are steeped in sort of this side of things, yes, I thought, yes, maybe I can speak to Daniel about some of this. And
I mean, if that's your only reason, then you could also go with Flask or something.
I could do. I think this is a route for Vapor for me.
Very cool. I really like that. Like, especially like Apple even gave a huge shout out to Vapor and Swift on the server in general. Like during WWDC, they kind of removed Swift from GitHub's from Apple's organization on GitHub and gave it its own organization to like kind of signify that this is really a thing that we want to gift to the industry. And I can kind of believe them. Like Apple can be petty at times, but yeah, I can totally see that. And they even had like a huge shout out, like, and Swift can be used on the server and whatever. And I really hope that they will do a few more things there that will really, really help, especially with compile times. Like right now, if you build a Swift Vapor app, it will need to build a package that is actually provided by Apple that is called, hang on, I'm blanking on the name, but I have the project open here.
Mm-hmm.
That is called Swift-Nyooom. That deals a lot with like asynchronicity and stuff like that. And that is just like a 10-minute build time on a small CI server.
I'm raising my hand here, Daniel, because I've just realized something. That is very appropriately named for this show. This episode. Because it's in my head, I read that as Swift-Nyooom. Excuse me.
Oh my god, I love that.
But yeah, you're not wrong. It does increase the compile times, but
which is totally fine usually. But like this is just something that is annoying and also like just uses a lot of energy if like that really doesn't need to be used at some point. So I would love if that was somehow built in more deeply into Swift, and I think that's coming at some point. Like I would be very surprised if that wouldn't be coming at some point. And then you just have like a very like, because like the binaries that come out of this thing are tiny. And so why shouldn't the compile time also be tiny?
Yes. Well, that'll put my machine through its paces, and there'll be a bit of a learning curve. But I'm definitely up for it. It's been on my mind now for again, it's another one that I've thought about for years, and now I sort of feel like I'm in a position to actually execute. So we'll see. I mean, I can build the back end. I've still got to make the content or pay somebody else for the content or figure all of that out. It may end up being a bad idea for one reason or another, but at the moment, it's something I would like to do. I can see that it could be quite lucrative business-wise. It means anybody who's a subscriber, a user of the app, who's then like, oh yeah, I want that, I can buy that. You're cross-selling to people who are
give me that sweet content.
Yes.
Question though, I'm just realizing this. Like, is every single video like a separate in a purchase? Because I don't know.
No.
Like, I like
No, I'll
because then
bundle
you'd have
them
to
together.
submit them. You'd have to
Yeah.
submit them individually to Apple, right?
Yeah. Every
But
collection of videos will be a submitted.
there'd be a collection of videos. I see.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It's typical
Because
that you
I
buy
like
content
just
packs rather than individuals.
yeah, I get that. I get that. I do that with 3D models sometimes.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would be also cool just like be like, oh yeah, I need one more thing to kind of blend into this thing. So I go to the store and see like a animated preview. And be like, yeah, I just want that. Yeah, just like fingerprint whatever, and then I just have it. That would be nice. But then you'd have to like add every single piece of content and register within a purchase. Like I wonder if is there a different way here? I'm not versed enough with the IAP. Here.
So there is a different way here. This is, but again, I don't know the technicalities in terms of whether Apple would be happy with this or not. But I can imagine there might be a route with a consumable in-app purchase, right? So you create consumable in-app purchase that is for, a different notches, because I can imagine that there may be variants in terms of like, say, I might want a small, medium, or large price against some of these, and some differentiator for that. But whatever, you've got your consumable in-app purchase, and then I validate that receipt and create a record against your user login on my server, and that then becomes a case of that, right? But it's consumable, meaning you can, it's kind of one and done, and you don't get to restore it from Apple's side. So that's where the server becomes pretty crucial, I believe. And then maintaining that data, maintaining that customer record would become a thing. So that could be one way, and then it's a case of like conceptually, the model here is not much more different to having a game with a player who's then used the consumable in-app purchase to level up their character or something, add some more points to it, and then you're maintaining that record on the back end against their player record. It'd be a similar thing.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that, and I think it's probably the right approach.
Yeah,
but yeah, I like somehow Apple might be like, we have decided this is not the case, even though like this is probably what they want. Like they want their 30% cut, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
so we'll see.
You could probably talk to, like, if WWDC wasn't just over, you could probably go to one of those Apple Store sessions. They could tell you more.
Like maybe book a call in with a StoreKit person or something. Yeah, but we'll see. There's so many different ways I could cook this in one way or another. I think at the moment it's about doing like a proof of concept, a minimal viable product kind of approach. You're right in terms of saying the security on this, like locking it down is sort of a nice to have in some ways. Like I can build it without it and then get the experience working. And
like don't get me wrong, like you shouldn't like be like Windows 98 login screen, just click cancel and then you're in anyway. But
yes,
there's a balance to be struck here between like implementing DRM for everything and just like locking everything down so tightly, and your time and the just like the fact that this is right now it's just an idea and it has to prove itself.
Yes, exactly. So I think like I've listed out my steps. I can sort of see the corners I can quote unquote cut to just get the idea tested. Like I don't even need to validate a receipt, right? In the first instance, the app has just achieved the purchase, and StoreKit has told it that this thing is purchased, and so I can just go, well, that's my source of truth right now, and then any request from the app to the API with this bundle ID and anything in the receipt is assumed to be valid, and then retrofit the validation into the server stack.
Right. Right.
after that point. And so I'll probably do a series of those sort of things, like small cuts against the functionality. Because really, the bit that I want to get working really, really slickly is the user experience, right? Being able to see the thing in the app. It has to have probably a placeholder image. It has to have a preview video of some sort to really sell it. That preview video should play audio when it plays as well, so I can have a little bit of music and really, really show it as a thing. And yeah, like I say, it needs to be surfaced in a way that makes sense in the app, that where users can have a bit of a noodle around and pick things. And so I'm not saying the server bit's not important. It's absolutely crucial, but the stages of its development can probably
Like
be
go
done
with the
in
most minimal server that you can imagine, especially at the beginning.
yeah.
Like, because if you haven't done Swift on the server before, just starting a new project, there will be hurdles. Like, how do I build and host this? Like, how do I actually just how do I just make it run? How do I
deploy it?
How do I make requests against it? So I can totally see that in the beginning, this will just be one function that will return a hard coded list of Swift structs that represents, because then you can work on how these should look like and just test this out. And then another function that would be like, okay, if I get the idea of one of those, then I will return like the download link or whatever.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then you can add a database, you can add validation, you can add whatever, like various APIs and authorization, stuff like that. But like starting small is a good idea here, I think.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff I want to wrap around it as well. I want to make sure I've got open telemetry around this server stack and actually have that funneling out to probably something like Honeycomb. If their cheapest tier will support me, then I'll go for that because it's a lovely tool.
By the way, Telemetry Deck also supports Swift on the server. We have a separate SDK for Vapor.
Okay, this is cool. This is really cool. So yes, I shall definitely wire that up as well, because I want to see something there in terms of like how this thing behaves and how it gets called. So yeah, there's more than just making the thing work. All of the other infrastructure and approach around this is new, and Apple are not providing it to me. So that's my learning curve more than just doing server stuff. It's the whole kit and caboodle, as they would say, Daniel. So
kit and caboodle. The app kit and caboodle.
Yes.
Fantastic.
But yeah, that's me looking at Swift on the server at long last. Well, eventually in the next couple of weeks.
Eventually, at some point.
Yes.
Oh, someone apparently has just won a soccer match, a football match, because there are like people like shouting and honking their horns in this. No, what they mean is actually, if you honk your horn, that means you support waiting for review.
Excellent. Honk you if you are in a car listening to this show right
my
now.
bottle fell down. Hang on.
Oh no! You know what I'm going to say,
Fine, it's
though,
closed,
Daniel.
it's closed.
So, any listeners listening to this in their car, I would advise you to honk your horn, but it's going to be socially awkward, and so maybe not.
No, totally. Like
Yeah,
just like honk, 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 whoop, poof, that sucker just like and it's like support your favorite podcast. That's
exactly.
how it should be.
While you're going meow safely, of course, down the road.
Yes, go safely. Don't like adhere to the rules of the road. If you are on a public road, don't drive like a race car driver, and vice versa.
And on that note, Daniel, I think we should probably wrap this one up.
We should.
So,
but
okay,
before I can wrap up, like I have to ask you, like, where can people find you online?
Oof, you can find me online on the Mastodons over at social. Hang on, let me get this right. It's Dave at social.lightbeamapps.com. Or the other way around, social.lightbeamapps.com/@Dave, because Mastodon is funky like that.
At some point, we need shorter domains for this. Like
we do. Anyway, they're linked in the show notes. We always do that. But yeah, and you can, of course, find out more about my apps on lightbeamapps.com. But I reckon I'm going to put the Instagram for my account into the show notes this week, Daniel, because that seems to be where all the action's happening for me. If anybody wants to see GoVJ in use or things, yeah. So I'll do that, and listeners, if you want to see what I'm up to on Instagram, feel free to add me. But how about yourself, Daniel?
Yeah, follow me on daniel@social.telemetrydeck.com, or go to telemetrydeck.com if you want to know more about analytics for all kinds of platforms. Also, because we are apparently sharing our Instagram accounts now, my Instagram is Winsmith. That's spelled WINSMITH, because that's an old internet nickname of mine. And I posted a lot of Formula One videos and pictures there. But I also posted those on Mastodon, so you're not missing out. In fact, Mastodon has more of them, I think. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Please rate us on iTunes and YouTube. Send us emails to contact@waitingforreview, or just comment down below. And see you next week. Also, no, wait, here, it says add the Discord server to the outro, and I haven't. So, yes, join us in our Discord server. There's going to be a link in the show notes. I'm forcing Dave to do that. And we have a lovely little Discord community where you can chat with us and with our friends. And we're going to have a call every now and then, just for saying good morning and sharing our projects, that kind of stuff. Join our Discord. It's really nice. It's fun, and it's free indeed. It's not one of those things where you have to be a Patreon member.
No.
Yet. Ominous music.
Don't make me have to find a sample that says da da da, Daniel. I don't want to do that. There we go. I'll just use that. That's fine. You've done it. But yeah, fantastic. Great talking to you.
And you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.